All right, guys. So this is my third attempt at talking about love in astrology and what kinds of things indicate it. And I'm here with Jay. She's very patient with me. We're trying it again. Hi, Jay.
Hello, we've had quite the day.
God, yes. Well, it's
We
not
didn't have
technical.
volume.
Yeah, that was a technical difficulty. This is just me forgetting to press record. Blames
I
on me.
can't put, oh wow. What's love got to do? Got to
Um,
do with it?
I love how you have a theme
What's
song.
love? I know for everything.
Oh, that's really good. Tina Turner, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What's love got to do with it? Love has got to do with everything. I'm still excited talking about love, even though I should be super frustrated.
Well, we're ready to hear it.
The planet we have to look for when we look in the charts, the primary planet is Venus. Venus indicates love. In terms of the houses, expressing love, the more, let's say, playful or the lighter aspect of its expressions comes in the fifth house. And then the contractual, the more serious ones comes from the seventh house. The sexy time of it comes from the eighth house.
So is
Yes.
that not so Mars also, when it comes to physical, Mars would play a role, no?
Yes. I don't want to be crude here, but Mars has to do with penetration, for example. Even when you look at the symbolism of Mars, it looks like a certain body part at a certain situation. I'll put it up here or over there. Yeah, and Mars has to do with activity, energy, passion, but Mars doesn't necessarily feel love. It's more in it for a sport and the adventure of it. You need Mars to start combining with some other things
Like
to,
Venus?
yeah, if you want that kind of a passionate love. And Mars and Venus conjunct usually have a bad rap, but a lot of people who have this kind of signature, they might take a little bit of time to settle down with their person, but once when they find their person, they're able to keep the passion going in their life, which is a very important component. A lot of people lose that.
Okay, so they're able to keep the spark alive.
Yes. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but we have to look at like what house is it in. For example, Venus and Mars in the seventh house, it could create a lot of different partners
Oh, okay.
because Mars also becomes Mongolic in the seventh house. And Venus, you would think, because in the natural zodiac, Libra is in the seventh house, Venus is in the seventh house. This should be a great thing. But Saturn does really well in the seventh house and does really well in the sign of Libra because it takes that air element that wants to mingle and wants to go around and stabilizes it, concretizes it. So it allows people to stay. But when you put
Is that even a word?
concretize, yeah, maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong, but it is a word.
Okay.
Concretize.
I
How
know
do
what
you?
concrete, like, yeah,
Yeah,
cement
yeah.
it, like,
No, but I'm pretty sure if can you check?
yeah, yeah, well, keep going.
Yeah, so seventh house
Yeah,
here.
you're right. You're right. You're
It's
right.
concretized, right?
To make real, give specific or definite form to, yeah,
Yeah, it's a very Saturn thing to do. It's just like you're married now. This is your obligation. These are your duties.
to make concrete, specific, or definite.
Definite, yeah. So yeah, Saturn is good, but you put certain other planets here, they can have too many back and forths in the seventh house.
Okay, but if somebody comes to you, if a client or somebody comes to you and
Mhm.
they say, look, I'm 28 years old, I'm alone, I'm sad, like,
Why is
where
it
would,
Mars's maturation age?
oh, interesting. Did I?
Yeah, you got like some subconscious. We were just talking about Mars
Yeah.
and you chose the age 28.
Oh,
But go
wow.
on.
Okay. Didn't even think of that. I'm just, yeah. Where would you take them if somebody's trying to analyze their own, to have an understanding of their own chart, or
Yeah.
when you're doing a reading for someone so they can understand, like, what are you looking for in a chart if you want to see, is this person going to find love?
Well, you have to look at the primary houses. You have to look at Venus and you have to look at the dynamic of that. So you're going to be looking at the fifth house, you're going to be looking at the seventh house. But at the same time, if when we have blocks in our lives in regards to any facet of our lives, it's coming from different places too. You know, it's you have to look at the person's moon. How is their mind? What kind of emotions do they generally have? You know, you might look at their Venus is actually not doing so bad, but let's say you have Moon and Saturn conjunct. So this person's actually is grappling with heavier emotions in life. It might be from past experiences, it might be from past lives. So you just have to take the time to study the chart to see where the block is coming from, and then to also look at those indicators of relationship and marriage, like the fifth house, like the seventh house, the sign of Venus, where the Lord of the seventh is, where the Lord of the fifth is, what's their interaction, to understand what's going to unfold and manifest in those two houses. But in terms of generally how people feel and how they feel blocked in life, it's not just to look at those planets. There are other factors that might be coming in and creating those situations too.
Yeah, but if somebody has the Lord of the fifth and the seventh sitting in the 12, they might assume that's going to be doom.
Yeah, or they might meet their partner in distant lands. So you
Yeah,
have to look at the dynamic of the whole chart.
that's well, that's what, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So a
That's why
lot
you
of
haven't
people,
found him or her, because they're just not near you.
yeah, so it could be, or you could be meeting, or if they have it in the sixth house, like people would freak out because they'll be like, it's in the sixth house or the eighth house, or one of these houses.
Yes.
I guess it's not that easy though. There's so many things you probably have to look at.
Yeah, you
It's
have to
not
look
as
at the whole Yeah, I think it's a huge mistake when people just look at one thing and they're like, that's what that is, that's what it means. Not really. Because you
so.
do see people's chart, and from a first glance, it's glorious. It's like, yeah, that Saturn in the seventh house is exalted, Venus is doing really well, this and that. But when you actually listen to people's narrative, one of their greatest triumphs in life has been the relationship, but not because it was easy, but because they worked so hard at it. They were intelligent about it. They were diligent about it.
And what would you look at in a chart to see if you're going to have a second marriage?
You would still have to look at the seventh house.
Oh, it's still the seventh. Okay.
The seventh house, the condition of the seventh house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm sure a
And the
lot of,
sixth house, because that means you got a divorce, right? So the proceeding of it or some sort would be indicated in the sixth. And then you can even investigate a little bit further, because some marriages ends with division of assets and like child support, alimony of some sort in the eighth house. So it's like if the sixth house is not showing the procedure, the eighth house is not showing, etc. and etc. So how do you get a second marriage in the seventh house? But
okay.
when you see that everything's just one after another coming out of the chart, then yes, you can make those predictions.
Not to be dark, but what about a deceitful partner?
So malefics will create deceit, right? Mercury making some sort of an aspect to these love components of the chart that's a little troubled could also indicate deceit. Debilitated planets in general, you have to look at, are planets that could indicate deceitfulness in some way? Are they struggling or not? And are they connecting themselves to the relationship dynamic of the chart or not?
Okay, but the specific houses you're always going to really focus on is 5 and 7.
5 and 7, yes.
What about 1? Would you look at 1 because that's going to show the self?
Yeah, and it's relative to the seventh house. Like in the other video that got cut off, we were talking about Venus in the first house, right? Saying this is not the most joyful place for Venus because Venus is a feminine planet, it's a receptive planet. It actually prefers to be in houses like fourth and fifth. It feels more free with loving. And when it is, for example, in the fourth house, it might express itself in terms of, I really want to be in a relationship because I want to love someone. In the first house, Venus is a little bit uncomfortable here, and Venus wants to be loved. So they'll express it in terms of, I really want to be in a relationship because I just want to be loved. And they might have this tendency to make their person, their body, themselves decorated with ornaments, get dressed up. That's what I'm saying, like go shopping, this and that. Because they try to maintain a certain kind of an appearance to attract other people to themselves. And Venus in the first house could be an attractive person, so they might be attracting a lot of people to them or attracting partners who are very attractive. You could get these kinds of indicators out of that first 7 axis.
Okay, but then in the 7th house, Venus actually doesn't do well, right?
It could. It could. We got to put it in a little bit more stable sign. Like, let's say we put Venus and Gemini, it could be a little flirtatious sometimes. Venus in Aries, show a little too much boldness for people's comfort. But yeah, Venus in the 7th house, in Vedic astrology, not in Western astrology, it has a connotation of not being able to endure the 7th house things by itself. 7th house is very serious. It's about contracts and marriage. Marriage is an entity on its own. Two people merge as one, and the objective is to be that entity, which is marriage, and to last. And we were saying in the other video, in a lot of cultures from around the world, when people do the marriage, this thing's gotta go. When people do the marriage ceremony, there's generally a phrase articulated about death. Till death do us apart. In Iran is till you die and move out of that house in a coffin. So it's like a lot of cultures will associate this beginning, this union, with an ending. And the seventh house is also the house of ending. So it's like you enter it as two individuals, you establish this union, you become this entity, which is the marriage, and then it's not supposed to end till you're dead. And this is another reason why Saturn does so well in the seventh house, because it concretizes things.
Yeah, concrete type. Yeah. Well, it solidifies it. Yes. Secures it.
Yes.
Completely.
It holds it together. It's
hence the concrete.
Hence, yes. Saturn, actually concrete, Saturn's is a symbol for concrete. So yeah, it makes sense.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Because Mars is construction, isn't it?
Mars is a construction. Mars is a builder. Mars is logical. So it's very good at like looking at a blueprint and know what it's looking at. Yeah.
Okay.
Venus could be the architecture.
Oh, because the beauty of it, the
aesthetics of it.
Yeah.
The design aspect of it. Mercury is like the guy who's doing the contracts and trying to find people who'll do the funding for it and mingle with people and network. You want to invest?
Hit up Mercury?
Yeah, Mercury. That's a part of the development belongs to Mercury.
Okay, and then from a 2-8 axis, because Venus is the focal planet, it's not the only planet, but that's where you would start. So in a 2-8 axis with Venus.
The second house has to do with the kind of support that you receive in life, and it's sustaining lifelong. This is where the last video ends. I think this is where I'm feeling a little bit of like glitch in my brain right now. Yeah, so this is a house where it's supposed to sustain you. Your family comes in here, your lifelong friends are represented by this house because they sustain you and they support you. This house also represents food and your voice. So when we put Venus here, there is a love of all of the above. Love of food, love of the kinds of support that you receive in life, love of those very good friends, family, a pleasant voice, a lovely voice. So yeah, these kinds of things can be indicated by Venus in the second house.
Well, we also talked about you could end up with a partner that's a friend of yours.
Oh yes, like lifelong friends who all these years you guys were there for each other, but nothing really happened. But you gotta see that there's some sort of a connection between the second and seventh. Maybe there's the Lord of the second is in the seventh, or the seventh in the second, or some sort of an aspect somehow connecting to the fifth. You got to start to connect these dots to if it's just like an acquaintance, you've always known them. Now you got to connect it to like the 11th house. General friends, not besties like in the second house. Then you would look at the third house. Yeah, so it could start to bring other planets and other dynamics into the investigating this love dynamic in the chart.
Okay, but now in the 8th house, that's going to be a very passionate relationship.
Yeah, a lot of sexy time, right? Do you have a song for that?
There is. I feel like there is a song for that, isn't there? Isn't there a song called that or something?
If you want my body and everything else.
Yeah, you know what? I should. Yeah, I know what song you're talking about, but I don't know the rest of it.
Or Justin Timberlake, I'm bringing sexy back.
Oh,
no,
hey.
that could work, right?
Yeah, I'm bringing. Yeah, hey. Yeah. So in the 8th house, it would be a lot of passionate love.
You could start to make 3 different categories of meanings for the 3rd house related
the 8th
to
house.
What did I just say?
3rd house.
Thank you for correcting me. I watched the videos afterwards, so I'm like, oh, fuck, I just said another planet because my brain is like somewhere else at that moment, thinking like 10 things at the same time. So yes, in the 8th house, it's a regenerative house. Your life force is represented in the 8th house. Making a baby in that moment of orgasm when the sperm reaches the ovum is represented in the 8th house. It's naturally in the natural zodiac is the house that belongs to Mars and the sign of Scorpio. Yeah, so this house has a lot to do with sex and the sexual act and that moment of conception, where the sperm literally reaches the ovum and there's that fusion and that new life force emerges out of that. It's in the 8th house. and it's a dark house, right? Think about it. How many people have you met in your life who were having sex in the public space where they could be seen? Things are hidden, it's in the dark. Some people like having sex in the dark. Like literally, there's a literal manifestation of it in the world when it comes to sex and sex life that's being represented by the eighth house. It's hidden. It shouldn't be a taboo subject, but it's a taboo subject in a lot of ways. Taboo is represented by the eighth house.
So whereas like I think we discussed this before, the 12th house, some people say it's bed pleasures, but it's actually just you actually with a bag of chips watching Netflix.
Yeah, it's like post-orgasm, you're just kind of like, oh, yeah, zoning out. Maybe even cuddling in bed, but you're somewhere else. It's not, eighth house is very intense. You're very present and you're there. You're experiencing it. And to a point that the eighth house is actually scary because there's too much of it and too much unknown is happening at the same time. But the 12th house, you're letting go. It's a house where your energy actually gets drained. And post-sex, that is the general physiological feeling about it. So yeah, that kind of thing would be in the 12th house.
Okay,
Yeah.
so since we're on the 12th house, we'll do 12-6.
Okay.
So Venus in the 12th. Okay, well, you kind of talked about that, but I guess it's also a love of, could be from foreign or different or.
I would say different, but foreign lands, because that's what the 12th house represents. And I hope people don't take this literal again, but hidden enemies are in the 12th house. On the upside, what the 12th house could give a person, you know, that feeling of soulmate, the 12th house could give it that because it's a very abstract house. So a person feels, I can merge with this person. I feel a sense of oneness with this person. So you can get these kinds of very lovely and profound feelings in the 12th house too, especially if you have Venus presence, right?
Okay, so not everybody's going to get a stalker.
Yeah, and you gotta have some malefic business happening up there to get like that kind of activity, paranormal relational activities up there.
Okay, so from stalker on the 12th house to 6th house.
Yeah, sixth house, Venus in the sixth is a roughie, but again, like all things, under the right conditions, it could give someone something. Look, sixth house has to do, for example, with debts, right? You might get into a relationship where you end up incurring a lot of debts. For love, you will create a lot of debt. And you see this with some people. It's like the person is dating someone and they're going beyond and above their means to, let's say, impress someone. So you can get that kind of dynamic. The sixth house is also your enemies, but they're very overt. They're not like the 12th house that you don't know at the outset. In the sixth house, they'll show that face, whether if it's a person themselves or their partner, they'll see that very quickly. It's like, why am I always at conflict with you? Why are you always at conflict with me? Why are you arguing with me? Like an argumentative dynamic, Venus in the sixth house, fighting all the time. There's aggression, and Venus doesn't like to be aggressive. So it creates a very uncomfortable situation for Venus in the sixth house. She's a benefic, or he's a benefic, and stuck in a malefic house. And then malefic and benefic equals more malefic in Vedic astrology, right? So it just creates a lot of conflict. And having Venus in the sixth house, one should also be very mindful about love of food, because this is a house that negates your health. It's actually trying to deduce and reduce your health. This is why the seventh house comes to suddenly be about death. You got to get weakened somewhere. So the sixth house is actually promoting illness, is an anti-health house. However, because it's also such a grimy house in terms of if we have, let's say, a malefic here, how we do the daily work here, we could have a healthy eating routine. The reason why you're able to keep that routine and go through all of its weirdness is because you have a strong sixth house. So Venus can weaken these significations because it's a benefic that wants to indulge and enjoy. And Venus is about pleasure. And the sixth house is saying, like, you indulge here, you're in debt. You indulge here, you get sick. You indulge here, you get killed by your enemy. So you have to become very mindful and diligent to become a very balanced human being. And then up the upside, Venus, not as much as Mercury. Mercury is the one who actually, it's about balance and symmetry. But Venus also indicates equalizing things. So one could learn the art of balance even with Venus in the sixth house, but it requires a lot of mindfulness because the natural inclination is to indulge and enjoy pleasure. And
Okay, so
you can't be hedonistic in the sixth house. Just not good.
okay, so that relationship's going to need some work.
Yes.
And all of this is, I guess, generalized until you actually see the entire chart.
Yes, of course. Yes. We're talking about stereotype meaning of planets.
Okay, 3 and 9.
How do we go from 6 to 3? Oh, we're just random. It's like throw a dice. I just caught on that they're all random. That's funny. Today was such a
No,
stress.
it actually wasn't random. It's because we were talking about the 8, 2, 8, and then I asked what the difference because bed pleasures and
Oh, and
whatever
then
about
you
the
went to
12.
12 and
And then I
6
was like,
because
well,
of
we're
that.
already talking about the 12th. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. Okay,
So now I'm
Venus.
back on schedule. 3 and 9.
Yes. Yes, Venus, 3 and 9. The third house is generally, not generally, it is an Upachaya house and it requires effort. It's a house that does generally better with malefics in it than benefics, the third house. But Venus, I've seen this over and over and over again. Dancers, artists, because this is a house where you learn skill sets. So you're learning those kinds of things. And then your partner, in terms of love, they have very much a flair of being your buddy. They're your friends, or they're like your sibling. You could be competitive with your lover. This is also a house that indicates competition and competitiveness as a raw interpretation again. Yeah, this house can create a bit of conflict when it comes to relationships because I have actually experienced relationship like this in my life where your partner becomes competitive with you. It's a very stressful situation because it deduces that sense of trust in your partner. Like it's like I want to trust you and I just want to love you and I want to tell you how I did in something just to tell you, but the person will take that and they try to do the one-upmanship, and you're like, what? It's just not a good feeling. So you put a planet like Venus here, you could get these kinds of irritating relationship problems.
Okay. Yeah, because it's supposed to be a partnership, not a
Yeah,
one-upmanship.
right? It's very strange to deal with that when you love someone and you're in a relationship. Yeah.
Okay,
So
but the ninth is completely opposite of that, I'm guessing.
yeah. Ninth house in general. So third house, you're learning stuff. You're learning how to communicate, you're getting skill sets, you're just gaining your abilities. And one of the reasons why one set of the significations in the third house is about competition and things of that nature is because that's actually part of a learning process, putting yourself in relation to someone else and learning it. In the ninth house, you become the teacher. You become the parents because you are wise, because you are well learned, you are well versed, you're mature. The third house has this juvenile thing, ninth house has maturity. So you put Venus in the ninth house, you might get a partner, or you may be that partner who is like a teacher, who is like a parent, who is wise. It brings a sense of being traditional and conservative, that type of a relationship. You know how you see sometimes in public, there are people who are making out where your first instinct's like, get a room? That's not in the like Venus in the ninth house. No, there's a proper time and a proper place for everything. So yeah, it's got this. I don't want to say conservative and traditional because those words have a strange meaning in our day. It's ceremonious almost. Like a traditional marriage, Venus in the ninth is very much indicating that. But it's a mature love. It's not we.
But I'm guessing the same way the third is annoying because you're competing with the partner, it's almost childlike. If you have to be expected to parent someone in the ninth, that could create some problems too, I'm assuming.
But you know what though? If you find somehow this love dynamic of your chart being related to the moon or the fourth house, that would be more worrisome because you're literally parentifying your partner or you're being like you're mothering your partner. But in the ninth house, there's a sense of wisdom to it. Let me give an awful example. Someone in a relationship dynamic, one partner cheats, for example. The person who has the ninth house indicators, they will actually be very wise about this because some people could act very outraged and just in return go and cheat and in return break everything in the house and set the house on fire. In the ninth house, there's a sense of wisdom about it. sit the person down. What were you feeling that this went down? What were you trying to get from it? What outcome did you get? So they have a sense of maturity about love. I'm not saying that they forgive it at the end, but they truly try to understand. They might even give the other person a piece of advice that's actually really wise before leaving or deciding to work it out, for example. So you get these kinds of very mature, wise. So it's not necessarily just parenting a person like the way you would mother someone in the fourth or the way that will work out with the moon, but it's just mature and it's wise. It's not a bad thing, but it's missing that spunk, like if you want to like hold hands and like smooch in public, and this is not the place for it.
Yeah, so it's a reserved
There's a time, and that's what I'm saying. Ceremonious is there's a time and a place for everything.
but if it's connected to the moon in any way, it's going to be a potential issue, I'm guessing. Then you're completely mothering, right? Or fathering or whatever.
Yeah. If you don't like that, then that's not going to be a good feeling. But I see some people doing it. They don't even notice they're doing it.
Nobody wants to be someone's parent, but who knows?
I personally would hate that. But I have seen people who are actually doing it and they don't even notice they're doing it. So
I can understand how as you age, and especially somebody like certain people, they still have stamina. Yeah. They still want to live life. They still want to travel. Yeah. They still want to do things. They could, Yeah. But I guess once you get up in those ages, it really doesn't matter.
Let's say the procreative age comes to an end for someone. They're not going to prioritize love based on sex. We even see this as we start to age. Who we like in our teens is very different than 20s, 30s, 40s. We just tend to have different categories of the mind in terms of what matters to us, how things make us feel, which is related to the moon, and then what we value, which is actually related to Venus's signification. Our tastes, for example, Venus represents the five senses. I know I did. I like some nasty, disgusting candy as a kid that I thought it was bliss. Today, eating that stuff, I just like what the hell is this? Your taste gets refined, your value system changes. And the ninth house has a lot to do with your value system. So you're going to choose someone because they have a correspondence to your value system. Actually, that's a better word than traditional and being conservative. There's a value system that really matters to you, how the other person conducts themselves in life. So yeah, Venus in different parts of life will operate very differently in terms of what you find attractive, what's pleasurable, what's enjoyable, what is lovable. So yeah, I think the criteria for love changes with age, because two people could have met when they were 17 and they were just like bunnies, just humping each other all day long. Now they're 60. They love just having that quiet dinner and look at the garden and just have a quiet watching the sunset. These are the same people, but they're valuing something very different. They're appreciating beauty in different ways. So yeah, when you get older too, you don't have criteria. It's not just what your stamina, like Mars and sex and things like that. So yeah.
Well, yeah, you want a life partner to travel with, to maybe do, to
like
enjoy
word
life.
You use companion. That becomes a very important theme in people's lives as the years go by. Where, you might in your 20s, you might want someone who's really hot. So it's like your hot girlfriend or your hot boyfriend. But I feel that when you're 60 or 70, you're assessing attractiveness based on a different criteria.
They totally could be.
Yeah, a friend of mine, it was so funny. We were talking the other day and she's like, yeah, I was at the park. She goes to the particular park often. She's like, some guy came up and he just started randomly talking to me and I thought he was like lost or something. I'm like, why would you think he was lost? He's like, I don't know. He was around 85 or something. He was asking her to go back to her place. And she was so shocked. She was like, what? No.
Oh my God. Oh.
Still has it. He's still looking for it, right? And
I guess, yeah.
People don't. Yeah. So different people play to different songs all their life. It's different.
We'll move on to the 4th and the 10th.
So the 10th house is above the ground. The noon hour, when the sun is like right on top of your head, is being represented by the 10th house. Midnight is represented by the 4th house. It's that dark and it's sleepy, it's private, it's internal. So you put Venus here. This is when Venus gets its most devotional, like I'm devoted to my family, I'm devoted to my children, I'm devoted to my spouse. This is Venus in the fourth house. It starts to give these kinds of meanings. Making a beautiful home, having a beautiful family. These are the things that the person values a lot. So you get these kinds of significations out of Venus as related to love, being related to the fourth house, love of one's heritage and love with knowing about one's ancestor, like my grandparents and where do we come from, love of homeland, love of home. So yeah, it's very family oriented in that sense. And
so a traditional sense.
it's not traditional. Like, have you ever seen like a devoted mom? They will sacrifice their life for their children. They'll do whatever that's necessary. They enjoy taking them to their activities because they understand they're just devoted to their partner and their family and their home, you know?
Yeah.
And it's coming from a place of deep love, not just obligation and pain. Yeah, it's got that kind of a feeling to it. That's Venus in the fourth.
So it's like an unconditional love.
Yeah, and they deeply feel the love because the fourth house is your interiority. It's your insides, it's your emotions. It's the stuff that's within you that other people don't get to see. So it can be contemplative love, meditative love, devotional love, and then all the significations of the fourth house. Like you don't see your spouse like the way you would see them in the seventh house. I have a contract with you. You better keep yourself aligned. We have a contract. In the fourth house, the person sees their spouse as their family. So it's got that kind of a feeling. Now, when we take Venus in the 10th, this is the most public house of the chart. It represents the career, it represents fame and status. So these are the things one also values in a partner. You know, people who say power couple, right? That's the word.
Yeah.
You're just kind of becoming known because of your relationship. You're becoming visible, or you want your relationship visible, but not visible in that way of like we're making out in public, but visible for the status. Like you see on Instagram, the couples who are just traveling all over the place in luxurious places, and the entire theme of that page is we're a couple, but we're a rich couple and we do all these things. So they're displaying that relationship in public, and they want they want their relationship to be known.
But behind the scenes, could it completely be actually the opposite?
Yeah, you got to see where the ruler of the 10th is.
Okay.
You know, you got to see the other kinds of aspects that are coming in, what's happening on the other side of the axis. Yeah.
Because they could actually look like the perfect power couple out in public, but
Yeah.
they're actually miserable humans.
Or, you know, wherever Venus is sitting, when you look at that person's life externally in terms of its external manifestations, it's like they're not having it, but internally, those are the things that they value. So maybe the ruler of the 10th has gone into the fourth, and they're actually with a partner who's shy, introvert, doesn't like to make these public gestures. But their true joy and happiness in their fantasy is about, oh my God, if I was only with that kind of a couple, then I'd feel so good about this relationship. So Venus in a certain house could say something, but then when you look at the ruler, it's like, maybe that's just what the person values. And yeah, so you have to look at, that's why you have to look at everything to understand these dynamics.
Okay. And I guess the final 5th and 11th.
The 5th house represents
the love house.
It's a love house. Yeah. It's nice we left it for the last. We did the 7th, right? Yeah, we did 7 because contracts,
we did 1 and 7.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, 5th house, beautiful love house. Because in the 4th house, we actually feel things. Our emotions are being generated in the 4th house. It's the interiority, it's inside the self, but it's private. It's within ourselves. In the 5th house, we come to express it in the world and to give it to someone else. And the world in the 5th house is a one-on-one basis. That's why it's representing children. We interact with our children one-on-one. We love them in that way. And then our romantic partners, people that we feel affection for and love in the 4th house, we're feeling it. In the 5th house, we get an opportunity to express this love. And art itself, whoever that's an artist, and not just in it for fame and mere entertainment of it, they know that art is an expression of love. this is all falling in the fifth house. The fifth house also represents intelligence that can be an inheritance of some sort, like your karma in this life from previous lives, that it's coming here as your intelligence and certain kind of talents and knowledge and wisdom you're endowed with. So when you put Venus in the fifth house, and in Western astrology, the joy of Venus in the fifth house, Venus has to do with beautiful things. It has to do with,
in Vedic and Western?
yes, the creative aspects of things. It has to do with union. So Venus gets like a full-on free ticket to express itself the way that it is in the fifth house. And we got to remember, Venus is Shukra. Shukra is guru. Even the intelligent aspect, this person loves intelligently, for example. And that's a very important thing to do, not to overwhelm other people, to have that power of discernment, to know when it's time to do certain things when you're in love and a relationship with someone. And this house has a romantic, fun aspect of it where, like, when someone says, I want someone who's romantic, you want that Venus in the fifth house dynamic. You want that kind of a feel out of it. Yeah, Venus is well supported with the significations of the fifth house. And Venus itself, Shukra, represents semen, right? And this is a procreative house. So it's even, it comes to have that kind of a support here too. I really like Venus in the fifth as a stereotype kind of a meaning designation to it here. But then again, I don't know, the ruler of the fifth might be debilitated somewhere, getting a very bad look from Saturn. So you never know. You have to look at everything, right? And then the 11th house is the stage. We have to remember the axis here. The fifth, if you got that creativity and you got, you're endowed with the things that you're endowed with, express them, and then you get to see the acknowledgement for it in the 11th house. So it becomes a kind of a stage for the fifth house. And in the 11th house, because of the stuff you're doing in the fifth house, you can get network, you can get acknowledgement, accolades, some sort of an incoming gain, that kind of a thing. And you put Venus here, Venus can actually very much enjoy the 11th house, because the 11th house has to do about, it's a karma house, it's a pleasure house, right? So it gets to enjoy the fruits of its own work or other people's creativity, whatever it is, you know? It likes mingling with other people. You see this sometimes in relationships. It's like a couple is at a party somewhere, the whole night they're not together. They're just kind of mingling with other people. It's about, it's almost like a network. It's missing that depth in some ways when it comes to love, like compared to, let's say, the fourth house, which is so deep and devotional. Love is just more casual in terms of relationship. And because like we said, in the second house is your BFF, you're marrying them, and the third house is your friend, and the 11th house are your acquaintances.
So isn't it more like a business transaction, like almost for business?
Yeah, it could have a transactional thing to it. Yeah. But there's great pleasure in the 11th house too. It can actually take on a bit of a hedonistic kind of a pleasure in the 11th house. Yeah, it could be transactional. It could get a little, I'm trying to enjoy the finer things in life. But outside of a relationship context, Venus here could be lover of arts, lover of plays, or maybe someone who loves people in these domains of life, love artists, because the fifth house is right there too. So Venus is looking at the opposing house and that axis too. Or you can get this is not the moon, but it's still relates to Venus. You know those parents who put their kids in a pageant on a stage because they want their kids to become famous, and they're networking through their kids and just trying to get an incoming gain from their kids.
Yeah.
You know, that whole beautifying them and then
well, a lot of child stars, like Michael Jackson.
He was a model, a pageant.
But,
what?
Well, not a pageant, but okay, it's got to be beauty.
No,
I was gonna say Michael Jackson was a child star. His father pushed him out like from a young age. Yeah,
but
from a young age.
This situation, like, it was very sixth house. It didn't sound pleasant. The 11th
no, he was miserable. He was miserable.
The 11th house, you enjoy it. Like, you can become like an art connoisseur in the 11th house. You become like, you know, those people who go to different restaurants and they do food reviews and all day. Wine tasting and the finer things. So it has that kind of a feel to it. But I don't feel like Michael Jackson had pleasurable.
No. He said he said he was miserable the entire time as a
Yeah.
child.
I feel like it's more like sixth house child labor or something happening there.
Okay, so from the 11th, it's basically transactional, but at the same point, you could be because you may like the finer things in life or
There's
people on stage or
there's
art or things you
pleasure.
can, yeah, and
Yeah.
you can meet someone in these kind of situations potentially.
Yes. But because of that transactional aspect of it, it's kind of you're chasing the pleasure of what it means to be with someone more than what it means to be with someone from the depth of things that would actually come from the fourth house, even the fifth house, you know? The 11th
Yep.
house, when we think about the private sector of the chart, so houses 3, 4, and 5, they're very personal, those houses to our person. It's very personal. And then when we go to the private sector of the chart, 9, 10, and 11, we're actually becoming very impersonal and we're becoming about society and the external gaze looking at us. While in the private sector of the chart, we're looking at the world, we're looking out from the inside. So when you put planets in the 10th house, they're very external and all eyes are on them. It's very out oriented. And when you think about love, it's kind of a personal feeling, it's internal.
Okay, so a lot of the ninth, 10th, and 11th is like you're not in a negative way necessarily, but
No,
performative.
it could be perform like in the ninth house is teaching people. So you get Venus in the ninth house. That's what I'm saying. It's wise, it's about education. So it could
Isn't it
be,
also philanthropic kind of stuff?
you know what, that could go in the 12th house because someone who does that kind of work, they're giving money without profit, right?
Hmm.
So it could actually fall into the 12th house. I think being more of a connoisseur is in the 11th house. Yeah, the philanthropy aspect of it is in the 12th house because it's actually draining material resources for an abstract cause.
Okay.
But yeah, those are the houses. And thanks for bringing this up because initially we were supposed to do another topic, and I'd come here after hours and hours of just outlining things for the coming weeks, and my brain was just glitching. And then you suggested this topic, and right away I snapped out of it, even though I forgot to record the
No
first.
worries. Looking forward to the next one.
Yes, me too. And then if you guys want more information about courses or if you want chart analysis, reading more articles, you can go to my website. The link is below.
Perfect. ParisaYazdi.com.
Thank you for your help today. And the conversation was really nice.
Yeah, it was interesting. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. That's it for today. Much love. Till next time.